Don't believe the hype show.
Every Thursday, fortnightly.
For news, views, reviews, and more.
Join host Val-u-U and guests from 6:30 p.m. Thursdays, fortnightly.
Don't believe the hype show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Don't Believe the Hype show. I'm Valerie Kelso, and tonight we've got another special guest, which her name is Yvonne. But Yvonne's going to tell you a little bit about herself in a little while. Before we go into the show, I would like to just let you know a little bit about the Don't Believe the Hype show. The Don't Believe the Hype show sponsors Purple Light Touch Foundation. Every donation that we get through the show will help a woman or a young girl recovering from domestic violence, abuse, sex trafficking, any life-altering situation. So feel free to reach out to us on the Don't Believe the Hype show. You can also donate through the Purple Light Touch Foundation. And if you want to come onto our show, you're more than welcome. You can call 817-655-4105. The number again is 817-655-4105. And without further ado, I am so excited to have this guest on our show because we are fellow people. Because Yvonne is, well, I'll tell you what, let Yvonne tell you a little bit about herself.
Hello everyone. My name is Yvonne Cooper, also known as UK Lady Rhyme. I was born and raised in London, England, or the UK. So as she said, we're comrades from that across the seas.
So as you can see, our accent is not the same because we're from different parts of England. Yvonne is from London,
yes,
and I'm from the Birmingham. So she's south and I'm north. Okay, so that's why our accent is a little bit different. Plus, she's been here longer than me. So tell the audience what made you decide to come to the US.
Okay, so in the UK we take an exam that's called A-levels, and I finished a little earlier when I was 16, and my parents said, do you want a car or a trip to America? So of course I chose a trip to America because the irony is that I'm born on the 4th of July. So I made the decision to come here, came to school here, studied here, and my whole life began here in the United States.
So what year was that?
I was 18 years old. So
okay.
Yeah, I was 18 years old.
And you know she's now turning into... I'm not going to say anything more about her age, but we are similar in age, but I'm not going to tell you what age she is. That's up to her, whatever she wants to do. You know what I mean? So coming to the US, was it a scary leaving England?
Yes, it was. It was very scary. And to this day, I asked my mom, like, why did you trust me sending me over there? But she said I was the kind of child who was very studious and very focused, and she knew that I'd be okay, you know? So yeah, it wasn't always easy, but I was able to go through that hurdle.
So was you here by yourself, or did you have
family? I originally came here to stay with my grandfather, and then I ended up staying by myself. Okay. So I was by myself for some period of time. Yeah.
Well, that's like me. I'm here by myself as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we can see all these slides are going around. And I just wanted to ask you, what made you decide, because let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yvonne's an author, not just of one book. She's got several books, and I didn't know that she wrote these children books. So I just want to ask you a question. What made you decide to write children's books?
Okay, well, one of the things I failed to tell you is that I've been an educator for nearly 30 years now.
Okay.
And as an assistant principal, I see all different issues coming into my office. And I wanted to find a way to reach out to these children who had different things going on, from bullying to being shy, just different things going on. And I wanted to find a way to reach out to them. However, the very first book that I wrote was because of a little girl. Her name was Jamaijah Moore. Jermaine, I hope you're out there hearing because you were my inspiration. And in New York at the time, it was a testing era. We were heavy on tests. We were the first charter school on the island in New York. So everything was publicized. We had to do well. So they finished one state test. Right after that was another test. And Jermaine looked at me and she said, "Oh, Miss Cooper, oh no, not another test." And I felt so convicted as a teacher, like, what are we doing to these kids? I've got to change the narrative so this way they take tests, look at tests differently. So that's what inspired me to write the first book.
So what was your first book that you wrote?
It was called Oh No, Not Another Test. That was the name of the first book that I wrote. And let me back up a little bit too. I remember my mom buying me a diary, a 5-year diary,
Yeah.
and I used to write in it every day, writing in the diary. So I think that's what started the love for writing, just writing. I wasn't a talker, but I used to love to write. And so
Okay.
that's kind of what got me started with the writing journey.
So you wrote your first book, Oh No, Not Another Test.
Yes.
And that can resonate to so many children right now because every time you turn around, oh no, it's not another test. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what is the book about? I know
Okay.
it sounds like, oh no, it's not another
Yeah.
test, but
So the whole idea behind it is turning a oh no into a oh yes, so the students know that they can do it. So I told them that a test is nothing but a talent show. That's what I told my students when I was in the classroom. So look at it that way. Just like you go to a game, you perform, you practice, and when it's time for the show, you do a whole showcase. So I told them to look at a test like that, so that to take away that fear out of it.
and so what year did you write this book? Because you said you was from New York.
Yeah,
and
it
now-
was 2013 was when I first
Okay.
published it, and then I republished it and did some updates in 2019.
Okay, so what made you go to New York? Was it because
Well, that's where my grandfather was at the time, and also that's where I went to school. So my
Okay.
first school at the time was called Brooklyn College. So I went there to my undergraduate.
so what brought you to Texas?
That's a very good question. So I went to New York, and then from New York, I was in Chicago teaching and doing some leadership things there. And then from there, my boss that I had in New York asked me to come over to Dallas. They were, starting a new school and startup and everything, and she wanted me to come out and support her. So that's how I ended up in Texas.
So you wrote the book, Oh No, Not Another Test. And I like the illustration. Did you do that illustration yourself? Or
No, I had someone do it. I was very intentional. I wanted to represent children of color because I feel that they're underrepresented. So I wanted to make sure we included that children of color in most of the books. You will notice that it's a mixture of different races, but I want the main character to be a person of color. That was intentional.
Okay. So let me ask you another question, because you wrote this book and then
Yeah.
you've got another book.
Yes. So another issue that used to come to me as a assistant principal was bullying. And sometimes what children perceive as bullying is not bullying. So I wanted them to be able to understand what it was they were going through, be able to express what they were going through to me. So when they come, that's why I wrote this book, to encourage them to have confidence. So if someone is being mean to them, what things they can say to stand up for themselves. So in all of my books, I give self-tip advice for the children so they know what to do in that situation.
That's a really nice picture. It looks so sad.
Yeah, and you notice this time I switched it around so it was a girl
Yes.
that was doing, because a lot of girls, they keep those things in, and I do have a lot of cases where the girls are coming to me and complaining of things that they're going through. So yeah, that was intentional to use a girl.
And I like the way how the girl, one looks like she's mad, the other one's
Yeah.
whispering, and the other one's laughing. And
Yeah,
it's like
'cause-
three different types situations.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's a real thing. It's like mean. Girls are just, some of the girls are just mean to each other. And some children can get over it, but some of them really, really can't. They don't know how to handle that. So I think it was important for children to see themselves in the story and say, oh, that's me. Okay, this is what I can do in that situation.
And you know the funny, what I like, not funny thing, what I like about the book is that you've showed women, you've showed girls, because people think that bullying is only boys that do
Yes.
bullying,
Yes.
and a lot of the times we
That's
can be
right.
so rotten to each
That's
other.
right.
You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
That's right.
Our clothes,
That's
the
right.
makeup,
Yeah.
whatever else is going on, and
Yeah.
then if you this boy likes you, and
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
like that boy, that
Mhm.
becomes a bullying
That's right.
situation, and we don't look at those things as bullying.
That's
We
right.
just think, oh, it's just girls being girls, but no, some girls can be real
Oh yeah.
rotten.
Oh yeah. Some of them can be worse than the
Yeah,
boys, you know, because the boys are more physical, but that emotional negative talk that plays on your conscience, and
that's
if you don't tell anybody, that just builds up. So yeah, I really wanted to make sure that girls were represented for this
you know what I
book.
mean. So this is two of the books that you've written, and you've
Mhm.
written about how many books?
I've written 4, and I have 2 more, but they all have to do with real life issues that
So what
children
made
go
you write
through.
a book on the
Okay,
coronavirus?
so we were as a school we were teaching, through Zoom. We were teaching the children through Zoom, and we found a lot of the children, the adults had a hard time dealing with it. But we noticed that some of the children didn't really understand what was going on with coronavirus. So I wanted to find a kid-friendly way to tell them what was going on and what they could do, because their parents were dealing with it. And I think somehow the communication got missed where they didn't talk to the children. So the children were hearing about it in conversation, on the TV, but nobody really sat them down and spoke to them to say, this is what it is, this is what you should do, So I was intentional again about sending the message to children on how to handle themselves in that situation. And a lot of times they were by themselves because the parents were either on their computer, they're doing their homework on the computer, and there was no communication. So that was the purpose of that
Did you
coronavirus book.
find out that through the virus that a lot of children ended up with more mental issues?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because a lot of them, they didn't have anyone to talk to. They wasn't talking to anybody. I think that's the biggest thing. And in fact, when they returned back to school, it was our job as educators to get them back into the environment, get them acclimated to talk to each other. We had to get them back acclimated to do that. But yeah, they were definitely going through, and especially if they're observing from the side the stress that their parents are going through. Just think about it from a child's perspective, what that could look like.
That's
They see their
right.
parents stressed out, but how do they interpret that? So that was the purpose behind that book. Again, giving them tips on what to do in that situation.
And that is good because it's not just the mental side of things that
Mhm.
children have to deal with.
Mhm.
And I'm going to touch on this a little bit. Did you
Mhm.
also find that a lot of children were um, were being abused
Oh yes. So
in that period of
yes,
time?
because as you know, as educators, we're all mandated reporters.
Yeah.
But yeah, clearly the stress that the adults go through, of course, that spills onto the children. So yeah, there had to be cases where that was going on, and just finding an outlet for the scholars to be able to, we call them scholars, sorry, students be able to talk about that is very, very important.
Because the only thing, I mean, having a child going to school is one thing,
Yeah.
but basically a lot of children became homeschooled,
Yes, that's right. That's
and
right.
the
Yeah.
parents didn't even know how to handle that child because
Mhm.
that child is now stuck at home
That's
with the
right.
parent.
That's right.
Here you are at 7:30 in the
Mhm.
morning. I don't want to see my child to school.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
now they've got to give them breakfast. I've got to give them lunch. I've got to
Mhm.
give them everything that
Mhm.
they needed, that they didn't
Mhm.
bargain on, if
Exactly.
that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that alone is going to be added
Mhm.
stress on the parents
Mhm. Mhm. That
and on the
frustration.
and that child.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I can imagine that period of time how many children got
Oh
caught up in the
yes.
foster care
Oh
system.
yes.
Parents couldn't cope.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the virus, I don't even want to call it the coronavirus, but the
Mhm.
virus was had a knock-on effect on not just
Yeah.
mentally, physically,
Mhm.
emotionally. It caused a lot of harm
Oh, absolutely.
more than
Tripling effect. Yeah,
yes.
it definitely did.
So are you still seeing some of that now?
Yeah, because as far as I think we're just on the verge of getting kids caught up and in the mindset of learning, because you're right, it was a lot of emotional kind of breakdown and coming back to that, remember that transition from being home and now coming back to a classroom. And remember, it wasn't normal. Everybody had masks, we had spacing between each
Yeah.
other. That was all different. So from a child, how do you interpret that as a child, where in one hand before that happened, the corona, everybody was holding hands and playing, and then everybody's separated. That does something to a child's psyche. It has to do something to their psyche, and so they have to be able to talk about it. One of the things we really implemented in Strong's was social emotional learning. So we
Okay.
had specific times in the morning, we call it morning meeting, where we gave lessons on social emotional learning. We intensified that. We had what's called calm down areas in every classroom, because we had
Okay.
saw a lot more outbursts than ever before. So we had areas where children could go in the classroom and they calm down. We had calm down tools, squishy balls, glitter bottles, all different things that they can use to calm down, because that's one of the things I think increased was children have these meltdowns, which seem like for no reason, but it was a reason. Sometimes wasn't able to express why, but we saw huge meltdowns.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, all these things are important when you're dealing with children, and that's why I'm so glad about your book. I know we put your poetry book. Is that part of your four? Was it three children's stories?
No, it's well, yes, this was part of the one, but I want to talk a little bit, if I can, about the children, the two other ones that
That's
are
what I was
coming.
going to ask
Yes. So there's two that's coming. One's really on the press right now. It's called "Oh No, I Can't Focus." There has been an increase in ADHD. And a lot of our children really can't focus. Now we're in a tech-savvy age that we're competing with so much, but they really can't help themselves. And one little boy came to my office, and he was in trouble. So they come to me when they're in trouble, but it's usually always a root reason. And sometimes the teacher's so busy that they don't have the time to get to the reason.
Yes.
So when they come to me, I can really sit and talk with them. And one little boy said, "My brain feels like it's just going all the time." And I said, "Did you tell your mom?" So he's getting in trouble for things he can't control. So I explained that to his mom, and she took him to the pediatrician. But yeah, he just had a hard time focusing, and that's why he couldn't get his work done. So, and that is increasing. I'm finding more and more children come to my office with the ADHD diagnosis. So it's finding ways to get them to focus.
So they're coming into your office,
Hmm.
and most of the time, a lot of the things is because of the diet.
Yes,
At
that
your
too.
school, do you have a dietary to help
Yes.
them with their diet, or is it just
No, that's a very good question. So they've changed all of that. So
Yeah.
now they're really big about healthy eating in schools. In fact, we do not allow sugary snacks, cupcakes. We don't allow that in our school.
okay?
So they have to bring healthy snacks. We encourage that. Now we do have what's called free days, where they can bring in special, snacks. It's
Yeah.
only maybe 4 times a year, like Valentine's Day, what have you. They can have a classroom party, but it's very limited. So yes, that is huge, the diets and what they're eating.
Because that's what I find. If a
Yeah.
child's eating all that sugar all day,
Mhm.
they get that high and they get that low. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And we're not looking at it that our children are consuming a vast amount of sugar
Yes.
on a day to day. Everything that they give us in this country has got sugar
Yeah.
added to it.
Yep, I agree.
And there's no need for the added sugar, but
Mhm.
oh well, they're not going to eat it if it hasn't got sugar in it.
Mhm.
How do you know they're not going to eat it if you haven't tried?
That's right. That's right. It's so true, and that adds to it. But I do notice that the past, I would say, 3 years, an increase with children coming in with ADHD, and an increase with different ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, young kids coming in with that. And I've never seen that before. It's just an increase of behaviors like that. Like I said, with the meltdowns, and the children cannot explain why. Once they have the meltdown and once they're calm, then they're calm. But it's amazing how much this has increased.
Is it really amazing?
Well,
the world has changed.
Yeah,
It's
you're
changed
right.
from what we
You're right.
knew the world as.
You're right. You're
Because
right.
when we was growing up,
You're
you
right.
know what I mean? Let, you want a meltdown? You're gonna get a meltdown. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
And because
different.
now you can't smack your child because
Yeah.
oh, we're going to tell the government about
Yeah.
you, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. And
that's
it
true.
also makes a parent scared
Yeah,
to even do anything
that's
with
true.
with their child, even if the parent know that they can deal with the
Yeah.
child, not because they don't want to have all the social services and everything
Yeah,
else come
yeah,
get involved. So the parents are now giving in to the child.
yeah.
And now the child is becoming the parent, and the parent is becoming the child
That's
because
true.
the
That's so
parents are
true.
scared of their own children.
That's true. And then the parents ask, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, ooh, wait a minute. You're asking me, a 5-year-old, you don't know what to do, a 5-year-old,
You know what I'm
so,
saying?
yeah. And because we give so much to our kids, we give so much. And at an early age, we have to start setting those boundaries. And I think, and this is not being judgmental as a parent, but I'm by no means an expert in parenting, but I feel that boundaries have to be set early in their life rather than later. You
That's
can't wait
right.
until they're in 3rd grade to start setting rules. You have to have that from the very beginning,
And I've
So,
seen that even with some of the parents who bring their children into here, right? How it doesn't matter because they don't need to learn to write till they turn 11. But that time it's too late.
It's too late.
And
It's
if you
too
go
late.
back to the Bible tells you train the child
That's
in the way
right.
you want that child to
That's
go. So
right.
if you want to cook, you take them shoplifting at an early age. Anything that you want that child to be, that child is going to form it from an early
Yeah.
age. 5 is
Yeah.
too late
It's
to
too
me.
late. You have to
Because
talk
that
to the
child
yeah.
is already watching and
That's
hearing
right.
things going on while it's in the womb,
That's right.
and hearing all the cussing and all the things
That's
that you
right.
do as parents.
That's right.
And so to me, I think that's why Proverbs 31. I don't know if you know
Yes.
that, where
Yeah.
the woman's got the baby in a womb, and she
Before
says before the Proverbs
That's-
31,
Yeah.
and the women, everybody knows. Oh yeah, rubies and all the
Yeah,
rest of it. But
yeah.
what about the mother that had that baby in the womb, and
That's
she
right.
says, Lamuel, please don't put your hands on women.
Mm-hmm.
Do not take strong drink. She's already grooming that
That's
baby
right.
while the baby was in the womb. That
Yeah.
she wanted a godly man
Mm-hmm.
so that whosoever that boy picks up is going to have a godly wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But most of the time we tend to miss that part
That's
of
so
Proverbs
true.
31 and
That's-
just go into the rubies and I'm
Yeah.
a Proverbs 31 woman, but you have to have a Proverbs 31 man
That's right.
to get a Proverbs
That's-
31 woman.
That's so true. That's so true.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that baby was in the mother and she did not want him to be like the kings that have gone before. So you've got to train that baby from while
That's
it's
right.
in the womb. Teach it good
Yeah.
things. Give it good things. Give it healthy things.
Yeah.
That baby, because then that baby is going to want the same thing when it comes out of the womb.
That's so true, Valerie. And I love what you said because there is power in the words, and words have creative power. So if you know that, you start talking to the baby, that's a real baby
That's
there.
right.
So you need to talk to the baby, nourish the baby, and that continues. But I think that's the missing part. We as parents need to talk to our children, sit them down and talk with them, I encourage a lot of the young mothers, if you say like you have 3 children, take one of them, have a special day just for them. This is our date night, and just the 2 of us are going out and just talk and listen. If we give them a chance, they will tell us but we have to set that space for them. And it starts young.
It does. You know what I mean? So you've got another book that you said you wrote, because before we get into your poetry
Yes.
book, there's another.
So-
These books are already written, or
They're already written. The last one I'm getting ready to tell you about. So that one was ADHD. So that one's written in the publishers. This one coming up, originally it was called Oh No, I'm Too Shy. And listen, I got feedback from my son. He says, Mom, change it from shy to anxious. Because he goes through that. And I said, you know what? He said, anxiety is such the buzzword nowadays, and
Yes.
so many kids, and it's true, so many kids, I'm not talking adults, we know adults go through it, but kids are going through anxiety.
It's called anxiety detachment.
Yes,
And that's
yes,
what a lot of people don't know about anxiety,
yes.
detachment. And that's even your child could go through that when they're at school as
That's
well.
right.
That
That's
they've been
right.
so attached to you that when they leave, you can't even go to the restroom
That's
without the
right.
child. Mom, where are you?
Yeah.
Because of that anxiety that they've
Yes.
been feeling.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
found out about this when I did my I did a got a certification
Yeah.
on mental health
Yeah,
and
you
young
hit it on it
adults.
now. That's called we call it separation anxiety. Like we're getting ready for a new school year, and Valerie, you'll be surprised the kids that they're just terrified of school. So it's our job to make them feel comfortable and at home, but you can tell that separation is real.
Yeah.
And you know what I found out? Sometimes it's not even the kids, it's the parents. So they're the ones crying. And I get it. You know, that's your child. You're letting them go for the first time. And we literally have to give them a day to get it out your system. And we tell them after that day, which your child's going to be, they're going to be fine. We tell them they're going to be fine. We walk them out. But yeah, that's a real thing. But
It is.
kids are dealing with that where they're terrified to talk, terrified to move, terrified, you know. They're just anxious. So again, this book will give them specific things that they can do to get over that when they're feeling overwhelmed. How do they make friends? You know, how do they make the first move, say hi? How do they answer questions in class without feeling anxious and everybody's looking at them?
Yeah.
You know, so just giving them strategies. I want them to know that you're not alone, that there's a lot of kids who feel that way, but we need to set it up and give them the space to talk about
And
it.
it's also being anxious because am I going to fit in? Is my
Yeah.
clothes going to be the
Yeah.
is right?
Yeah.
Am I going to be? They're going to tease me about my hair.
Yeah.
My eyebrows are a little bit too thick. Are they going to say anything?
Yeah.
Are these eyelashes too long?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
all stupid little things
Silly
that
things. Silly
you
things.
know I'm saying that these kids are battling right now. It's not even nothing that if we was worrying about eyelashes when we was growing up, we'd be sweeping the floor.
That's so true. That's true.
Right?
It's so
But,
true. Yeah.
but we've made our children like
Yep.
this.
Yeah.
And the parents need to realize, hold on a second, remember you went to school.
That's right.
So why are you doing this to your child when you went through the same thing
That's
when
right.
you was growing up?
Mhm.
How did you feel?
Mhm.
And maybe sometime you might need to have a class telling the child and the parent together, have an assembly where
Yeah.
the parents and the child is together, so the child can say, "Mom, did you go through this?" Or the parent can say,
Exactly.
"You know what? We went through this when we was growing up, but
Yeah.
look how we turned out."
Yes, yes. And that's the hopes with these books, that it will start a conversation. And most of my books, I have links where they can get help for the
Okay.
parents. So that's my hope. They can at least start the conversation. I never forget, I was doing a book event at a school, and it was a father. He was sitting with his daughter, and at the end he said, "Miss Cooper, do you think you can write a book on shyness?" That's what he said to me. I said, "Your daughter's shy?" And he said, "Tell me more." And I said, "Yeah, I could do that for you." So this book I want to dedicate to this father, because you know we don't usually typically see a lot of fathers
That's
coming to
right.
school. So just the fact that he was voicing that and being an advocate for his child to say, "Listen, my child is shy. Can you help her?" I said, "Wow." So yeah, that was the hopes in doing that.
So I want to ask you now because I met you at one of Michael's poetry events, and this was about two and a half years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Just before I met Michael.
Yeah.
Right, because he's coming into I think 2 years since I've been with Michael, or three. I can't even remember. I've lost count. It's like an unmarried couple. Now. We ain't even married. But I met you at a poetry event.
Yes.
And ever since then we formed a friendship.
Yes.
Not just myself, also with another lady named Marina, which I'm trying to get onto my show, by the way. That's the Mega Women.
Okay.
And you did a poetry. So let's talk a little bit about your poetry.
Okay, well, so as I said, I've always written poetry, so for years. So if a friend had a birthday, Yvonne, can you write a poem? Yeah, I write a poem, give it to them. Anniversary, I've just been doing it because I enjoy doing it, right? But one day I said, you know what? I wonder if I can start, you know, saying it out, reciting
Yeah.
the poem. And it was, I can't remember where, but it was somewhere in Arlington. It was a place, and I went there just to listen, Valerie. That's all I wanted to do, is just listen. And I went there with my daughter and sat down and listened and said, wow, that's great, you know. And Michael said, Yvonne, come up and do a poem. He said, you have something? And I always carry my poetry book.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh, no, I don't have anything. And he said, what's your name? And on the spot right there, I said, wait, my poem's rhyme, UK Lady Rhyme.
Okay.
And I got up and I spoke out for the first time, you know, so that's when I started speaking out for the first time. But typically, I usually don't speak out my poems, but it's something about reading your poetry out. It just made it come alive for me. I was like, wow, this is powerful. So yeah, I started doing
So
it
we
like
need
that.
to see more of you out in the
Yeah,
public
I've
with your
I've
poetry.
regressed the past 2 years. I've regressed. Yeah, I've regressed because it does take confidence and everything like that. So yeah, I'm
People
gonna get
don't
back out
realize
there.
that doing poetry takes confidence to stand up and
Yes,
talk, especially when you're not a talker.
exactly.
And I'm not really a talker, so I know it seems like I am, but to be honest with you, I'm not.
Uh-huh.
So I having to go up there and stand up and do a poetry. I to make a stupid joke at the beginning because I know that's me. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I'm more a joker, and I just can't help it. So, but there's been a so what next have you got planned for yourself?
Okay, so I like I said, I have that book coming out, and I've been doing events around the country. So I'm doing book events around the country just to
Okay.
let the books known. That's the first thing, and also I have a business. It's called Rhymes for You that I'm trying to set up. So this
Okay.
way, I'll write poems for you and perform for you. So it's taking me out of my comfort zone.
And sometimes we have to come out of our comfort zone to get to
Yes.
the next level, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? I was just telling a young lady today, you've got a choice in life. A cake, you can bake a cake, and you think could be perfect, and if you open that oven door too soon, that cake can rise, can fall,
Yeah.
or you can leave it in there and open the oven door when it's supposed to open and you can rise. So it's up to you what you
That's
do
so true.
with yourself,
Yeah.
if you want to rise or if you want to fall,
That's so true. That's
because
so
nobody can't take away you rising.
true. Yeah.
Only you can take it away from yourself. So
I like
I'm
that.
hoping to see you do some amazing things going forward.
Okay.
Before we leave, I want to ask you, where can people purchase any of your books?
Okay. Right now they're on Amazon, Google Books, Barnes and Nobles. They can get it from any of those websites.
Okay.
Yes.
And is there a website?
Not yet.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yes.
the website is
Yes.
already up.
And I'm on Instagram, UK Lady Rhyme, and reach me at ycoop3@yahoo.com.
So you can see all the places that you can reach Miss Yvonne. If you know, I don't even know why I'm calling you Miss Yvonne because we don't talk like that in England, do we? You know what I mean? It's like right. So it's weird saying Miss Yvonne, and I shouldn't have said it. I don't know why. I'm trying to become Americanized, and I can't stand this Miss because we're not Miss,
No. Right.
right? So I just want to ask you one question before we start wrapping up.
Yes.
What does Don't Believe the Hype mean to you? And you can talk straight to the audience and let them know what does
Don't believe the hype. I'm truly inspired. I've known Valerie, like I said, for a while now, and just what she's doing for women. When I saw the vision of what she's doing for the women, hurting women that can't help themselves, that's what inspired me more than anything. And so I'm going to ask you to commit to this because we do need voices for our women, and Valerie happens to be one of those voices. So please do anything you can to support the ministry. And it is a ministry that she has for Purple Light Foundation.
Thank you. So
And thank you for having me. Thank you for this
I know
opportunity.
she's
I
a
really
little bit
appreciate it.
scared because she's never done an interview, and I think I'm getting better. If I'm getting better, like, thumbs up, and just let me know that I'm doing a lot better than when I first started. Because when I first started, I'm not going to lie to you, I was scared,
Wow.
I was shy,
Wow.
And I thought I
You
couldn't
seem so
do
natural.
this. I'm getting better because
Wow.
God is allowing me now to
Yes.
find my voice. Ever since I wrote my book, You've Got a
That's
Voice.
that's
You know what I mean?
wonderful.
Because now I'm starting to be me.
Yeah.
And it's taken some time for me to be me. So I would like to tell you thank you for coming on to our
Thank you
show
for having me. I
tonight.
appreciate
And
you
I
so
hope
much.
that somebody out there will buy your books and be inspired by the things that we've talked about today. We will see you back on another show. Thank you all for tuning in once again. Bye.
Bye.